Okay, welcome everybody who is live now here today. This is the Food for Earth Day 2020, the largest lesson event broadcasted on feeding the planet. So welcome everybody from all around the world. This is organized by the Geofood Institute and FAO e-learning academy for the 50th anniversaries of Earth Day. If you didn't know, it's Earth Day today. So this is the session 13 already of this global world tour. And we are live from Netherlands. So my name is Oriane Borremans. I'm the founder of Attention, a consulting company for food companies to direct the strategy on the daily basis. So I will be the host of today. I will welcome wonderful speakers today. We will cover a very interesting topic, which is inspirations from parks to fork and beyond. So we'll talk about taste, we'll talk about connection to food, and we'll also highlight some best practices that we have seen during this COVID-19 crisis. So I would like to welcome first a very interesting lady that I have met yesterday, who is Sarah Gentilini, who will talk about the Geofood brands that I found very interesting. So I will leave the floor to Sarah to give a presentation about this Geofood brand. Thank you, Sarah.
Hi, good afternoon, and it's a real pleasure for me to be here in this wonderful event. And I have to thank Sarah and Food Institute to invite Magma Geopart to be part of this amazing marathon. Yes, I'm sharing my screen right now, so you can see my presentation. Okay, so here we are. My name is Sara. I'm from Magma UNESCO Global Geopark in Norway. Even if I'm calling you from Italy, I cannot cheat about that, but I got stuck in my hometown. I am UNESCO external appointed evaluator, and I'm member of the European Geopark Central Committee. I'm also PhD candidate at the University of Turin here in Italy. In this brief presentation, I would like to introduce you the International Geoscience and Geopark Program. It's a new program established in 2015 in the framework of UNESCO, and is made by two main pillars, the International Geoscience Program and the UNESCO Global Geoparks. At April 2020, 147 UNESCO Global Geoparks are present in the network in 41 countries. UNESCO Global Geoparks are mainly composed by several networks around the world, that's the European Geopark Network, the Asian and Pacific Geopark Network, the Latin American and Caribbean Geopark, and the African Geopark Network. But basically, what is this? What is the UNESCO Global Geopark? The UNESCO Global Geopark are single unified geographical area where the site and landscape of international geological significance are managed with a holistic concept. And they are characterized by the bottom-up approach that combines conservation with sustainable development. We like to involve local communities, and the main four features that are fundamental for a territory to become UNESCO Global Geopark are having a geological heritage of international value, having a strong management, be visible in the area, and participate in networking activities. The UNESCO Global Geopark are contributing to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal. They contributing especially to the goal number 1 with no poverty. In fact, the bottom-up approach of the UNESCO Global Geopark reduced the vulnerability of local communities. The goal number 4, quality in education. UNESCO Global Geopark are outdoor classroom and incubators for sustainable development, cultural diversity, and promotion of peace. They even contribute to the number 5. In fact, UNESCO Global Geopark strongly emphasized the role of women through educational program, but also the role of women within the geopark management. The geoparks also contribute to create decent work and economic growth in their territories through creating job opportunities for the local communities with the tourism, but also through the promotion of local culture and products. We even try to contribute to create sustainable cities and community, since one of our goals is to give local people a sense of pride of their region and strengthen the identification within the area. We contribute to the climate action goal how we do that? Actually, through educational activities, we increase the awareness and we raise the issue in people and are provided with knowledge to mitigate and adapt to the effect of climate change. We even promote action locally that are focused on reducing CO2 emission through sustainable tourism practices. And of course, we contribute to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 17 with this partnership for the goal. In fact, we are all about partnership and cooperation, not only locally, but internationally. I would like to introduce you Magma Geopark. Magma Geopark is one of the UNESCO Global Geopark and is located in Norway. It's located close to Stavanger and in a surface that is approximately 2,329 kilometers square. Magma UNESCO Global Geopark is including 5 municipalities, and from 2010, when we established the geopark, the tourism flow increased up to 30%. We've been running 20 international projects, and there are approximately projects relating in tourism, culture, food, and research. The 2 main projects I would like to talk about are today is for sure the Geofood. Like we said before, the Geofood, it is a brand. It's a unique brand for UNESCO global territories. It is a brand that wants to strengthen the connection between the uniqueness of the geological heritage and the raw material. At the same time, it's a brand that wants to support the local community and sustainable agriculture within the bottom-up approach that characterize the UNESCO global geopark territories. And it's again a brand for regeneration of rural areas through the natural heritage. I would love also to introduce you the Ruritage project. The Ruritage project has been financed within the Horizon 2020 framework of European Union. Has been financed as a leader University of Bologna, and the project is about heritage for rural regeneration. Thanks to the Ruritage, Magma UNESCO Global Geopark strengthened the brand both locally and internationally. In fact, we focus with our stakeholders on the main actions that we like to develop within the area. And one of the main actions will be the development of a Geofood trail. So thanks also to Ruritage, we managed to create the Geofood Manifesto together with our partners and the Future Food Institute and our Geofood partners. We set up our priorities, our values, and some particular standards. In fact, within the manifesto, we have set that the company that we would like to brand themselves as Geofood company, a Geofood restaurant, a Geofood producer, they have to prove certain environmental standards. In fact, they should not use pesticides or other source of poison. They should do a responsible use of water resources. They need to grow seasonal products. We aim to enhance the use of kilometer zero food in daily use within the territories of the UNESCO Global Geopark. And together, we are looking for new innovative project opportunities. In fact, 4 months ago, we applied for a new Horizon project aimed to strengthen the Geofood brand worldwide. The Geofood and COVID. The Geofood and COVID, how we can develop for the Geofood and how the Geofood can contribute in this situation and how the Geofood can contribute after this crisis will be over. First of all, we think that Geofood can support the creation of local food kilometer zero chain, that we can support the cities and town. We like to increase, and we are sure that the Geofood can increase the relationship between local producers, local inhabitants, in a kind of common solidarity that we saw that during this very hard time, the human solidarity is one of the main key to go on and be even stronger through this very hard period. We know that through the Geofood, we support the local economy within the UNESCO Global Geopark innovative sustainable development paradigm, already based on bottom-up approach and valorization of natural heritage. In fact, the Geofood and eating locally can also reduce the loss of biodiversity and loss of geodiversity that we know for sure that is one of the main factors for this terrible crisis that we are facing right now. To contribute to a healthy and sustainable diets, we are sure and we know that the Geofood can and will contribute to build up an even more resilient inhabitants and more responsible eaters and food consumers, especially within young generation and food education. I would like to show you some examples from our companies and restaurants that already implemented the Geofood brand from all around the world. And I'd like you to point out also that you can follow us on the Geofood group on Facebook or Magma Geopark and Instagram, and also checking news on our webpage. These are one of the companies. This OleoX company is one of the main partners of the Geofood brand, is developing olive oil in Viluercas, UNESCO Global Geopark in Spain, connecting with the label and marketing the importance of the soil where these olives are growing, and the peculiarity of the geological heritage that is recognized within the geopark. Other two restaurants are in Naturtejo Global Geopark in Portugal. The Geofood brand can also in fact be for restaurant. The restaurant can brand their own menu. They prove to have a seasonal menu that they offer regularly to the tourists. All the three restaurants are branded in Terra de Cavaleiros, UNESCO Global Geopark in Portugal again. We can see here two products from UNESCO Global Geopark, Magma UNESCO Global Geopark for Norway. You can see our local salmon that is smoked following the Viking tradition, and our meat that they are both producing in the most sustainable way as possible. Here we are jumping to Finland. In Finland, they are branded the bread and a couple of restaurants. In Norway, again, we are branding our local honey, and our honey producer are also protecting our brown bee that are protected by law. And as a geopark, we sell their product in the geopark office. We promote them across the network, and they become our active partners. We involve them in all our initiatives. Here we have some olive producer again from Portugal, and here we have some fantastic cheese and other product again from Portugal. Here we have water from Langkawi, UNESCO Global Geopark in Malaysia. So for the first time, the island of Langkawi decide to use the local water and underline their very important peculiar mineral qualities. The Geofood brand and start to sell locally. Thank you very much for your attention. I invite you to follow us on main social media, and for any question, don't hesitate to contact us.
Thank you, Sarah. This is a very interesting presentation, a lot of insights. I really enjoyed the idea that we highlight the soil today. Is more than ever important in the production of food. I think we forget that food comes from soil somehow. I also wanted to highlight that you really put a lot of energy in the SDG, and that's something also that we should communicate more. I really invite everybody who's listening to us right now to check out the SDGs from FAO. I think it's a very interesting objective and goals that we always have to keep in mind in our everyday life and everyday actions. I have a quick question. So with this COVID-19, have you noticed a new connection, a new way of relationship between farmers and communities?
Yes, the crisis is underlining first of all, the importance of local agriculture, and Kilometer Zero food is getting even more important within the society. There are certain areas, certain rural areas, as we discussed a little bit yesterday, that are getting food directly from the farmers at this moment, because in certain part of the world there are scarcity of food in the supermarket. So the big cities or the inhabitants of the big cities must in a way go physically to the farmers to provide themselves with the food that they need. At the same time, I think that the population is also starting to understand the importance of eating organic, eating in a different way, eating more seasonal vegetables, also linking with the season and linking with their own area. That I think is a very nice lesson that we can learn from this tragedy.
Talking about lessons, do you also have education program that is organized by farmers or the communities?
We don't have yet an educational program in Magma UNESCO Global Geopark that are organized by farmers, but we as a geopark and most of the geopark in the network as one of the main goal education. So we educate people to the climate change issues and to the geo other issues. These are the two main pillars of UNESCO Global Geopark. So we educate not only students or kids or pupils, but we also create events that involve all the local population.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very interesting, the Geofood project. And I also have experienced that here. Sometimes we forget that next door we have a great farmer that can provide great food. So thank you for this insight, Sarah. I will quickly jump to our next speakers, and we will talk about taste with Peter Klaus, who have very interesting vision on this solution, because I believe it's a solution taste, right?
Yes, Ariana, taste is for me a very important subject. I come from a family, I was born in a restaurant, so I pretty much know good taste from my birth. And what I am very surprised of is that taste is apparently the elephant in the room, as they say, because I never or very little hear talk about taste. And I believe taste is so much connected to the food system at large, but also in improving the food system. And as you just mentioned, in reaching or attaining the SDGs. Basically, our food taste has not been a part of, let's say, the factors, the criteria that forged our current food system.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think we sometimes forget that taste is a very important matter, but at the same time, a lot of people now are talking about the buying power, and would that affect the importance of taste?
I think so. Yes, nobody objects to eating something delicious, and of course, people in the world seem to agree that the food choices that we currently make are not the best ones. So we need to change food behavior. We need to change our food choices. And then I believe that taste and deliciousness, liking, are very important factors. I do have some slides for you if you want to see them.
Sure, please do.
Yes, so shall I?
You can share your screen.
Yes, I will. Oops. So basically, this is what I have as the way our food system developed. I'm not going, of course, going into it very deeply, but I think we need to go back to after the Second World War, when, especially in Europe, everything was devastated, systems were destroyed. We needed to rethink the way that we produced and provide food security. Especially in the Netherlands, we had a hunger winter, which was horrible. And basically, that was the start of intensification of production, choosing different varieties, choosing different ways of harvesting and growing foods, etc. And ultimately, this fabrication went on and on and on, and ultimately also entered the consumer with a lot of different choices, out of season, of course, and with the idea that taste should not necessarily be in the products, because we believe that we could solve taste problems later on with sugar, adding sugar or salt or additives or whatever. So we created the idea that a taste could be fabricated, could be, so we could grow commodities in the agriculture and then ultimately add taste in all kinds of ways with synthetics. And of course, now you see at the end the problem of that, because more and more it becomes clear that the health issues that we have in the world are also very closely connected to the way that we eat. And the let's say the results of the food system are very costly. And people calculated it that the total cost of the total revenue of the food system now is less than the total cost of the food system. So indeed, this food system does cost us money if you count everything. So all the hidden costs, the health costs, the results of the bad health of the food system, and the environmental cost, etc., etc., etc. So it's quite a grim picture, really. When you go a bit further, then I think this is what happened. We started growing cheap and tasteless commodities. So regional character, biodiversity, added value basically disappeared from the system. And the question is, of course, why do we do that? Well, we do this because the big parties, and these are also very visible in this COVID crisis, the two parties that are really benefiting and really doing great are big retail and big food. They are still surviving because the people go to supermarkets to buy their foods. So basically, every part of the food system that is connected either to the food industry or to big retail is doing well. And that also means that if we focus on who is not doing well, well, those are all the smaller ones, the ones that are normally relying on food service or on restaurants, because they are closed and basically they don't have any business. Mm-hmm. Farmers markets are, what are the demands of industry and big retail? Well, as I said, they want to produce these ultra-processed foods and they want to sell them in the shops. And a lot of what we do in agriculture is not for food, but for feed or for fuel or for all kinds of, let's say, other things like additives and high fructose corn syrup, etc. It's in the name, corn. So we use quite a bit of land not for us, but for other things. And that has really changed the food system at large. And now, of course, we see all the problems of that because the farmers, this is a picture in Holland, but there are pictures all over Europe where farmers don't see a future and just 30 varieties are left over that produce 97% of all consumed calories. Of course, there's more than calories, but nevertheless, it is a measure of what's happening. So we see a very, let's say, impoverished system where just a few varieties are doing the world. So that means only this figure is also staggering because that shows what the way the food system has been organized. So that is that's quite a thing to realize. And the focus in Holland, at least, is on nitrogen and the problems that what nitrogen in nature does, etc. But the underlying thing is much bigger. The farmers don't see a future, and that's the same thing in France. It's the same thing in Italy. We've seen milk spilling over the roads, etc., because the prices are just too low. Farmers don't have a future, which is of course horrible because they need to provide our foods. So it's quite a thing to realize. So coming back to taste, I do believe that taste is a both, as I said, a part of the problem, but I also believe it's a part of the solution, because if we would choose to go back to varieties that have much more taste, we have chosen varieties that keep well in the shop and things like that, or are safe in harvest, etc. But we go back into varieties that are very tasty, choose agricultural methods that are much more into agroecology, we would go back to shortened food chains, and also seasonality would immediately, of course, be reinstalled, and it would be very close to what, well, basically many people that think on this think. Eat real foods, and Sarah just said it as well. Eat real foods and stop eating the let's say the ultra-processed ones, and choose in your diet mostly vegetables and plants. I'm certainly not against meat. I think meat is a part of a balanced agricultural system, but now the system is out of balance, and that's what we see. And the example of strawberries is, I think, the best illustration of this whole thing. Everybody knows that if you buy strawberries in the supermarket, they are mostly disappointing because they look like strawberries, but they're not sweet. They don't have the strawberry taste. And therefore, the first thing you do if you buy them, you add sugar. So that is the additive, and that's exactly the illustration of what I'm talking about. So my solution is let the food system be tasty again, and let us try to reinstall taste, put taste back on the agenda, put it high on the agenda, because it is a solution. And of course, one big mission is I think the thing that we need to do. People are very happy with the food. So all the people in the world are rather happy with what they buy. They don't see the immediate dangers. So they find it convenient, they can afford it, the foods are tasty. So I believe that the better foods, and that's again a tasty mission, the better foods for the people and the planet should also be convenient, affordable, and tasty. I call that the CAT formula. My successor today is Hans, and together we created the idea of what the happy cat, and also all kinds of sustainability and aspects would be included. So this is ultimately my final slide. If we look at the brain on the left, you see the brain filled with vegetables and fruits and the things that would be good for the planet. But if you are looking at the situation today, that most people, if you say healthy or vegetable or fruits, most people say that's too healthy, that's for tomorrow. Today I'm going to the brain on the left, on the right, with all the goodies of the industry. So a big challenge, I think, for us all, and the one that my foundation Taste is about, is thinking through how can we get a better understanding of liking and deliciousness to make it an instrument, make taste an instrument for the better future. And that's really something that I really believe in, and also think that's an aspect that I rarely read or hear in these discussions. So I really think that taste should be on the agenda.
Right. It's very interesting your point of view on taste, and not a lot of people are talking about taste, which is actually very important. So if I can sum up, like, can we talk about less feeding and more fooding?
If you want, if these words say enough, then yes. I think one of the problem is that food and nutrition really used to be the same thing. So what we ate was also nutritious. And these last years, and this has already started more than 20 years ago, food and nutrition is no longer the same thing. So we feed us with foods and we eat, but it doesn't nurture us. And that is, I think, something that we really should be considering, that the food that we eat should also be nutritious and should be good for us, right? Should not be bad. When did that start?
I have a question. Maybe Hans can also answer that. So how do you think that we can connect better retailers and local farmers?
I believe that supermarkets are every once in a while they're seen by people as a part of the problem. For me, they are. Am I still there?
You're still there, yeah.
Okay. For me, the supermarkets are part of the solution, because they also, their business model is not going to be hurt by selling real foods. So I believe that if supermarkets would be more aware of their role, they could also, with their connection to the consumers and the possibilities that they have in the shops, they could easily connect to consumers and be a part of the solution. So I believe that supermarkets could be, let's say, could take their role. I don't see them doing it now, but I believe that they could take their role.
Mm-hmm. Hans, you want to have a point on this?
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Peter, for your insights. Thank you very much, Ariane. Great to be here from Holland. Yeah, well, when you talk about food, you talk about culture, you talk about values. And one of the things we see, unfortunately, is that there is a lot of disconnection between producers and consumers, between people and where the food is coming from. And I want to share some slides with some ideas about that and what COVID-19 is in fact doing when it comes to values and our attitude towards food, because it's changing a little bit, unfortunately, and not always for in a good way, and that's a pity. So, can you see me? Yeah, you've got the slides?
Yeah, we have the slides.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about the redefining of the food love pyramid. So in 2015, we developed the food love pyramid, inspired, of course, by the famous Maslow pyramid. The food love model is a reflection of the values and attributes ascribed to food. And it's also an evolutionary path, by the way, that the society can walk on the way to forming a food culture. And this is the pyramid. And I will explain the different layers. So on the bottom layer, that's the basis. Food serves no purpose other than providing fuel for your body to function. That can be fresh food, of course, but a lot of times it's processed and ultra-processed food. As a reaction on our bad habits, bad dieting, we see on the second level health. That is where food evolves from mere nutrition to a means of healing and cleansing. Food will keep you in shape. And the big strength of the last decade is food as medicine. Even for a specific category of foodies, food serves as internal cosmetics. And everywhere where you go in international cities, you see the rise of healthy food restaurants and healthy food concepts everywhere. So that's the second layer. The third layer is origins and ethics as a value of food. And that's becoming very important the last years. What's on your plate reflects what's happening on our planet. And there's a strong relationship between plate and planet. We're getting better at understanding that the world is a closed system with finite resources. And we see and feel that everything in this century is connected with each other. And the choice what we eat on this level of consciousness of the food love pyramid is the key to a better world. And one of the things you see is, of course, the sustainable plan-forward dining as an important answer of this planet-wide challenge. The fourth layer is identity and lifestyle, food and pre-corona times. Foodies, I must say, in pre-corona times are willing to wait half an hour for a cup of coffee made by that one barista. But food is a part of status, and it's no longer the car you drive, but the food choices you make, the restaurants you frequent, or the food you serve at home. And the dinner table is a catwalk of conscious taste. And we interpret the rise of veganism and vegetarian food as a symptom, as a signal of that identity and lifestyle value to the pyramid. And the top layer is reconnecting food, and that's probably the most important one. And that's also the one which is under pressure right now. And you see that reconnecting, of course, at homes, but especially also in the restaurant sector, where food is not just filling a stomach, it's feeding souls, you know. It's a place where the most vulnerable of human qualities is nurtured, and that's empathy. And according to the steps of the food love pyramid, we're now at the highest meaning of food. That is to reconnect, repairing the broken connections between food, producers, nature seasons, and each other. And strong food cultures like Italy, for example, or Spain, or Japan and Thailand already possesses a powerful sense of sharing and caring through food as a community, and rather than a more individual and mindless approach of eating in other cultures. Now, what's happening right now, because of COVID-19, we see the shutdown of food service everywhere, no restaurants, no chefs who are working, and it's reshaping the pyramid. The bottom layer has become much more important. Food security, food safety, energy, it's the basic needs that now matter the most. And everything on top of the essentials, so health, ethics, lifestyle, and the value of reconnection in public spaces like restaurants, is less important and less relevant. And that's really a challenge. I want to explain a little bit more about the trends and developments which are going to be important in the post-corona age. First of all, bankruptcy, of course, and resilience, which is an important one. Resilience will become more important than efficiency. In other words, big food service companies will prioritize being able to withstand economic shocks over pursuing strategy towards becoming cost leader. This means rethinking the entire food supply chain. We see a different approach to globalization. It can go to globalization. The worldwide lockdown has shown that countries are too dependent, for example, on China, being the factory of the world. And globalization can become globalization, and that will affect on how we source our meals. That can be a good one, a good signal, but also a bad one. And that's the problem a little bit with what's going on. Food sovereignty, of course, not relying on other countries. That's what I'm just saying. And this is an important one. This is ultra hygiene. A permanent new sentiment has taken root in the heart of the consumer, a hyper awareness of hygiene. And will the consumers be okay with all the food and all the fresh food which is being served? Or will they ask for other solutions and go for pre-packaging everything? And that's an important question, which has to do also with the next one, and that's ecology and economy. Will this crisis lead us to rethink the definition of economic growth? If the climate and the planet of it benefit from a slowing down of our economy, is it then time to reconsider the necessity of the economic growth as we define it? Or is there something else, an opportunity? Are happiness and well-being not essential economic metrics too? And isn't the damage that products or industry cause Mother Earth just as important? A cost that we must incorporate in our pricing of our products. Well, it's yet unclear whether this historical momentum will be used to balance ecology and economy. It's, however, of vital importance that the right information makes it to the hands of everyone that can cast a vote in their countries, because what we are expecting will be a battle of narratives. Which powerful narrative will emerge from this crisis and shape our future? And this is really the challenge in my view. And will we establish a powerful story between healthy food and our resistance to viruses? Will we build a narrative between the two relationships, between industrial cattle breeding and virus outbreaks? And will we establish a powerful story between hygiene and fresh food versus hygiene and processed or ultra-processed food? Will companies, for example, use this fear for contamination to push forward more ultra-processed, sterilized products and solutions? Are we going to be afraid of natural stuff like raw milk cheese, for example? Well, that's a challenge. And it won't be, just a science deciding which narrative has the ear of the consumer. Media, social media, and influencers play a vital role in shaping our agenda for the next few years. And if we want to continue, just like we did the last 10, 15 years ago, to move towards a healthier and more sustainable food system, then finding, enriching, and disseminating reliable information and inspiration is critically important. We have to defend in storytelling the value of taste, the value of local food systems, the value of chefs, and the value of reconnecting consumers with a great food experience in restaurants and at homes. And I think that's the challenge, and that's also the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Hans. This is very, very insightful. Thank you for redefining this food love pyramid. I actually had the opportunity to see it 2 years ago, and I'm very glad to see it again, that you have changed and redefined this this pyramid based on this on this crisis. Yeah, you can unshare the screen so we can see everybody.
Yeah.
On the bottom.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm looking for it. So on the bottom. Oh yeah, I see it here. Stop sharing.
Right. Exactly. So I would like to ask you a question. You talked about economic metrics. Could we also include health in this economic metrics?
Yeah, health is, yeah, I think healthy food. But my key message is that's under pressure. So because of COVID-19, we see another orientation towards our food. It's now about food security, you know, do we have enough food on the table? Doesn't matter what, especially in America, for example, where there are serious challenges when it comes to feeding the people. And all the other values, which are so important, these are under stress. But health is important, yeah, absolutely.
This reminds me something that you mentioned during your last summit, the Trend Summit.
Yeah.
You mentioned climate change versus human change. I think that's a very good quote. So what would be your message to all these influencers right now? What should they communicate first to all these humans who need to change their food consumption?
All right, I would communicate a quote from one of our presenters at the Trend Summit. It was Gerd Leonard, and he was saying, happiness is not a download, ladies and gentlemen. Happiness is not a download. It's something we get when we have a great meal together with great products and a fine chef who is respectful to everything we source and who makes a wonderful meal. And that's happiness. And that's something we have to defend.
So also a lot of emotions in food.
A lot of emotions, yeah, exactly. That's culture. Yeah? That's in the culture of food. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Isn't that also one of the answers for the future for after COVID? That some people wonder how would the restaurant business or the food service look like? And I believe that what Hans just said is a very important angle. In Holland, we talk a lot about a 1.5 meter or the 6 food economy or whatever. And that's so against what restaurants are. It's a place to connect. It's a place to experience. And I believe that we need different answers than just be at finding a solution for be at 1.50 meters, because 1.50 meters will be destructive for any good restaurant experience. So I believe that this happiness approach and experience approach should not be, let's say, forgotten in this technical era of how do we solve things. Oh, don't forget the human factor. Don't forget us.
Thank you for this insight, Peter. Talking about solutions, I would like to invite Bea to share solutions and answers that you have experienced and you have noticed in Spain. Spain has been severely impacted of the COVID-19, so we would love to hear what you have seen, examples and best practices in the food industry.
Good afternoon, Oriane. Thank you very much for having me on this wonderful panel. It's a real pleasure to be with Peter, Hans, and Sarah here and with you as well. Yes, as you said, Spain has been very affected by this crisis. In fact, it has been the most affected country in Europe. So unfortunately, we have had to really study and understand what the new context was looking like and what we could do to overcome all the challenges that were coming up, because our economy really depends on food. So if you don't mind, I will be sharing my screen to share with you a presentation of the study we are conducting, precisely of what you said. We are studying, let me see if, please let me know if you can see it correctly.
We see it.
Do you do see it?
Yeah.
Perfect. So yes, as you mentioned, what I am doing at the moment is I am conducting a study to understand what this new paradigm looks like, and to shed some light on this uncertainty that really makes people be very, very afraid of the coming situation. So what I've been doing in the past weeks is really analyze new consumer behaviors and some movements in the industry. And I'm happy to share it with you today. So what we do from my organization in Spain, I'm now in Valencia, we conduct a study called Foodeuristic, and normally it's about challenges the food system faces, but this year specifically we had to really focus on how this whole situation was pushing change in a much faster way than we were studying other past years. So what I've done here is note down 5 critical areas or 5 concerns that the food industry and people are really starting to be worried about or don't know how to approach because they are changing. And within each one of those critical areas, I want to share with you a best practice that is trying to face that changing paradigm, so that we can have some hope and some inspiration about what to do about that change. So the first one here is brand ethics. Brand ethics, we've been hearing about it for a long time, but now more than ever is a very critical thing that consumers are paying attention to. So we are looking for brands that share the spirit of we are on this together. So we don't want brands that are trying to sell whatever service or products they do at the moment, but we want to see brands that really want us to get out of this crazy and scary situation together. So in Spain, for example, we have seen several initiatives. For example, Food for Heroes is an initiative put up by the restaurant industry to feed the health personnel, the people working in hospitals. So all of these restaurants have been cooking up meals for health providers, so for doctors, nurses, being at the forefront of this crazy situation. Yeah, you have to bear in mind, we have had 150,000 cases in Spain, which is quite a lot. So every day at 8 p.m., we everyone in Spain applauds. So it's very sentimental. We are living it as a very close community. So also the restaurant industry is getting very involved in trying to help that. Then El Tenedor is the fork, so a reservation platform. And what they have done is an initiative to save restaurants by making it possible for consumers to buy meals now. And then when we are out of this situation, they can go in restaurants and eat those meals. And this really helps restaurants because they can get some cash flow, which they are not getting any at the moment. And this is tragic for them and their employees. And then we have also mapped out many cases of companies that are giving specific food items to people at risk, or even protection materials like masks and so on. They have donated them from their companies, their production facilities. They have donated them to hospitals and so on. The second point I wanted to share with you is the new equilibrium point of our shopping behavior. So an intensified hybrid model between online and online shopping. In Spain, it has been a very fast change, maybe more than in other countries that were already used to online shopping. In Spain, it only represented 2.5% of all the sales. So this situation has completely changed the paradigm, and many more people wanted to buy online. And what really happened was that retailers weren't ready for satisfying that online demand. And the interesting thing that happened is that other platforms, such as platforms that provide food from small farmers and producers, they were ready to provide meals. So there's a company called Farmidable, there's another one called La Colmena, several platforms that normally bring closer to urban areas those food products from farmers around. They were ready to continue providing that, and they satisfied the demand that couldn't be satisfied by traditional retailers. They have grown 400%. So we think that trend is going to continue. These type of platforms will be growing because once people know about them, they might not only rely on traditional retailers, but also move towards that. And of course, traditional retailers have realized that they have to really catch up and be more ready to satisfy the demand online. We have also seen some traditional retailers like Mercadona, one of the biggest supermarkets in Spain, pay 20% more to their employees because they were doing those extra working hours because of this whole crisis situation.
I'm sorry, Bea, just to let you know that this is probably the last point because we have to give the session to
Okay.
Sarah Reversi. I'm so sorry.
Okay, I'll be super quick. We have also seen how restaurants will be changing completely because they have been obliged to shut down, so they will rely more on delivery systems. Even high-end restaurants like Kabuki is a very high-end Japanese restaurant in Spain. They have made a collaboration with Deliveroo, and now they will be delivering online. We have also seen people cooking much more at home, so that will also change the amount of time they spend in restaurants, which was in Spain before very high. 40% of the meals were eaten out. So my last point is hopeful, and I just want to say that the day after is not predetermined. As Peter and Hans said, we have to look at it in a human way, and we have to know that we have the choice to shape that future however we want it. And I just as you, I really want a human future that gives us back that socialization. Okay, thanks, Anna.
Thank you, Bea, for this presentation. Yeah, online is a big topic today. Obviously, online is a new way to connect, but this is really the connection that we want in the future. I think Hans would disagree. I think we need to reconnect with food. We need to reconnect with our planet. We need to reconnect with our farmers. We need to redefine our health. Thank you for all the speakers for being on stage, live stage today. I would love to introduce you to the next session in Italy, which is hosted by Sarah Reversi, that I've met 2 years ago, and I'm so happy to be live with her today. It makes me very happy to see her live. How are you, Sarah?
Good. Thank you, Oriane. I'm super glad to see you all today. So it's a very big day, and this is a little bit the Future Food family on screen now. So thank you so much for hosting this session. And thank you to my Dutch family as well. Really well represented today. And thank you, Bea, as well. Good. So thank you all. now we are gonna keep going with our marathon. So as I probably mentioned you, we started this morning very, very early in China with many universities connected. And then we flew to Japan, India, Singapore, Morocco, Ethiopia, Russia, Saudi Arabia. So it's been kind of a global mission. You know that we're getting
really.
used to global mission. I was missing a little bit this situations. And so we tried to replicate it in a virtual way. And now we're gonna go on just last hours in Europe, and then we're gonna fly to New York at the UN, and then Latin America and Canada, and so we're gonna keep going with our marathon.
So no
Thank you
need to
so
take the
much.
plane anymore. Perfect.
No. But at least we are reconnecting. So at least we are rediscovering this power of reconnection in this
The
day.
future of food is more important than ever today.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your inspiring words. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being with us. It's such a pleasure to partner with you, and we go on.
Yes.
And now we're going to host the first and only session in Italian. We have been hosting sessions in Chinese, a little bit in Japanese, and Portuguese later on, and French, and now a little session also in Italian. Thank you all. Ciao.
Bye.